Welcome to the Emperor Snowman. I'm just Randy, and today I'm going to be talking about why the sequel trilogy is better than the prequel trilogy. Ooh. Now, I know I'm going to get some hate from this, but that's all right. I can handle it. I'm a big boy. So, let me know how you feel in the comments section. Don't hold back, and you know what to do. The sequel trilogy, despite grossing $4.4 billion worldwide, is the most conflict-ridden entertainment property since the prequels. Over time, more and more people seem to be forgiving the flaws of the prequels, but I still remember so well how the so-called fans treated it. So bad, in fact, that George Lucas sold the rights. But before we get started, I'd like to say that I love the prequels. I love all Star Wars. There's good and bad in all of it. And I'm here to tell you that I feel the sequels are way better than the prequels. We hear this gripe with the sequel trilogy all over social media about how the potential was lost. Well, when you think about it, and in my eyes, the prequels is where the potential was lost. Don't get me wrong, the world building in the prequels and the twist are entertaining and they're great, and that's got to be some of the best part of the prequels, but because it's too much. When you think of the concept, it sounds great, it looks great on paper, but it just didn't translate to film. It had too much political nonsense. It was spaced out, dull action sequences, minus the Duel of Fates, of course. And the acting, golly, it was so dry. In the prequel trilogy, most of the characters are so underdeveloped, which makes it so hard to fall in love or to even hate them. However, one of the best parts of the prequel trilogy is the lightsaber duels. And to me, it is better than even the original series. That choreography in the prequels was amazing from all three films, but the rest of it is drowned out by the elaborate CGI backdrops. It's an eyesore, and when I go back and watch the prequel trilogy, I just can't get over how did this pass the eye test? I know it was a different time, but it really looks terrible and fake. The sequel trilogy is a masterpiece at character development, and the action keeps you on the edge of your seat. This is in part due to the visual aspect of these films. It's crisp, it's clear, and it sucks you right in. Not only is the acting impeccable, but the suspense is some of the best in all of Hollywood. And of course, the most suspenseful Star Wars movie ever made will be The Last Jedi. And now I'm going to compare the leads, and some of this is going to really affect some of you. So pull out the tissues. Rey was better than Anakin. There, I said it. Did she learn the Force a little too fast? Absolutely. Every film from here to the end of time is going to have some flaws. But yes, she found the Force a little too early. And some could argue that Luke found it a little too early in The Empire Strikes Back. So, hand in hand, we have Star Wars. Both are Star Wars. Rey's arc from scavenger to Skywalker in saving the universe by using all the Jedi before her is a true work of genius. When it comes to the prequels, George Lucas really screwed over Annie in the character development part. Yes, we see him young all the way up, but the development was terrible, and then at the end it was way too fast. Anakin was an obnoxious, whiny brat for the whole entire first movie, and he complained about everything through all three films. So obnoxious. His dialogue was horrendous, and it is hard to give praise on these films based on his acting. And you might think this is crazy, but you shouldn't. But I feel that George Lucas cannot hold a candle to Rian Johnson and J.J. Abrams when it comes to directing. It is clearly not his strong suit, Lucas's. This is no secret, and it's hard for me to feel or think that you can deny this. The difference is staggering. Prequels were choppy when it comes to the scene sequence, whereas the sequel trilogy flows like a soothing river. None of the scenes feel out of place, where in the prequels, a lot of scenes feel out of place. And what about comedy? The prequels and the sequels both had comedy, but none of them come within an inch of the original comedy. That was some of the best comedy in Star Wars. However, the sequel trilogy was far better than the prequels. It was way overused in the sequel trilogy, but at least some of it gets some chuckles when watching the film, at least in the theater. Now, don't get me wrong, the prequels had some great one-liners, like Hello There by Obi-Wan Kenobi and Not From a Jedi. Now, those one-liners are great, but when it comes to the comedy, it just wasn't there for the prequels. They intended to have comedy in there, but it just didn't work out. And a lot of people will always bring up, there's always a bigger fish in the sea. Do you know that that line has been used probably since the 20s? Hell, they use it on dating apps. It's not like that is a Star Wars line. It's not like, I love you, I know, right? That's a Star Wars line, I know, saying it after I love you, which makes a big deal. Saying that there's always a bigger fish in the sea has been used for years. So when people say, well, that was a funny line, well, it was a funny line, but it's not a Star Wars line. That's a line that has been used for years. So that doesn't really count. But when you think about it, what other funny lines was in the prequel trilogy? I can't think of any. I know I mentioned acting earlier, but in the sequel trilogy, everybody, all characters were phenomenal actors. I mean, Rey, Kylo Ren, all of them. Even Harrison Ford was great. And what does that tell you? That tells you that the directors were on top of their game, which I've already said. George Lucas is a terrible director. J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson are great directors. I mean, how does Lucas look at a monitor as they film the scene and go, that's great acting? Why doesn't he have somebody over here saying, no, George, that's not. We need to redo it? Kind of mind-blowing, right? The prequel trilogy acting was terrible. And in the sequel trilogy, Adam Driver stole the show with Rey right behind him. Whereas when you think about the prequel trilogy, nobody stole the show. If anything, Count Dooku felt unforced, felt natural, but it was still hard to hate him because maybe it was, I don't know. But for some reason, the prequel trilogy, nothing stands out when it comes to acting. I mean, yes, Obi-Wan did a halfway decent job. Qui-Gon Jinn, absolutely not. It's like stiff. Anakin, terrible. Even Natalie Portman was terrible. And if you go back and watch the films prior and after, she is a great actor, which falls back to the director, George Lucas. How did he not see that when he's watching it through the tube and in playback? And I don't know. It doesn't make sense because the acting was horrendous in the prequel trilogy. All right, so now let's talk about the plot holes. Let me see, plot holes. Plot holes. The sequels have a few moments that defy logic, like the Millennium Falcon being full of gas. Is it gas? I'm not really sure. Wow, never even thought about it really. Leia flying through space without the radiation eating her skin up, even if she does have the Force. How Palpatine returned with not really explaining what's going on. Yes, we could kind of figure it out, and some of us guys and girls, ladies and men that read books and read the comics and watch the animation series, we can kind of see what is happening. But somebody watching it new, they really don't have a clue. They probably don't even know who this guy is. Oh, this old guy hooked up to a bunch of hoses. However, nothing compares to the plot holes in the prequels. When I go back and I watch the prequels in Phantom Menace, Palpatine's plan makes no sense whatsoever. Qui-Gon Jinn, couldn't he just have stolen the converter at night? And then if he, felt compelled, he can bring money back to Watto later after they get out of there and get safe. But no, they turned it into, of course, you got to find a way for them to meet Anakin, but I just feel like the writing here is kind of stupid. It's kind of like, they're just grasping for straws to make them meet. And Anakin was infatuated with Natalie Portman, Padme, but yet the Jedi, and they knew it. They knew it. At least Obi-Wan knew it, and he was on he's on the council and allowed young Anakin to run off and hide where it's just the two, Padme and Anakin, together when they know he's in love with her. To me, that is one of the biggest plot holes because it makes no sense for the Jedi to do that. It's like the Jedi are trying to fail at their mission. Also, Anakin Skywalker's fall to the dark side happens with like 2 sentences and a blink of an eye. Yeah, they kind of set it up with the dream sequences a little bit, but bam, when it happened way too fast. He went from promising Jedi to almost a Jedi Master to killing kids and being psychotic. The sequels are not perfect, but with a mix of great visuals paired with great acting and edge-of-your-seat suspense, it outperforms the dull, non-funny, terrible acting CGI catastrophe of the prequels. Thinking otherwise is just laughable. Hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.
You have failed me for the last time.